probably find new stuff in for years to come. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 new things players have discovered in Elden Ring. Starting off with number 10, you can kill Melina. You can kill most NPCs in Elden Ring, with very few exceptions. One character that was assumed to be impossible to kill was Melina, one of your few key allies throughout the story. At certain points, she'll appear at sites of grace to talk to you, and those are actually the only times she appears in-game, so most people assume there's just no way to hurt her. You can't do anything while resting at a site of grace, so unlike most other NPCs that you can smack around to your heart's content, Melina is pretty protected. At least, that is what we thought. A Japanese YouTuber named Tomato-chan managed to get around her supposed protections and actually kill her. She even has a death animation. To kill her, you have to set a trap. Spells like Fire's Deadly Sin and Freezing Mist cause continuous damage to anyone near them, so cast the spells and then sit at a bonfire with them still active. Just sitting there obviously doesn't actually do anything. The only time she takes damage is when she's talking. Once she does though, her health should start dropping fast. Now, there's really no reason to kill Melina. In fact, she doesn't actually die anyway. She shows up like nothing ever happened for her next scripted appearance. But if you show people a character that can't be killed in a game filled with vulnerable NPCs, people are, well, gonna find ways to kill that character. Tell gamers they can't do something and they will try to do it 10 times harder.
He will be driven from the lands between. He will wage war in a land of...
At number 9, players found this really weird invisible thing. This little weird thing revealed by Redditor Blue Penguin 53 just a few days ago. For some reason, there's something that's invisible next to the forge of the Giants' bonfire at the highest point of the mountaintop of the Giants. It's not just a standard platform. It's got an unusual shape to it with some odd edges and different elevations. It just doesn't seem like it belongs here, and it's an interesting little find nonetheless. Elden Ring's a game that's no stranger to invisible platforms. They're rare, and they tend to hide some pretty interesting rewards, so it makes sense for players to jump around trying to find whatever secrets might be left in the game. So finding an invisible stop you can stand on outside of a key location like the Forge of the Giants feels like a big deal, but as far as we can tell, there's really nothing to find. Another Reddit user named Saith Venom Drone had the best theory as to what this is. It's most likely geometry for a wolf head ornament that can be seen on other parts of the Forge. What happened is the developers probably just turned this one invisible after they added the crack and forgot to remove the collision data. It's one of those things that seems like it might be a big discovery, but it's probably just a simple bug. And number 8, it's Fia's Champions. One of the more forgotten optional bosses in Elden Ring is Fia's Champions. A pretty basic invader-style fight where you fight 5 enemies total. If you've been playing offline, it's always the same. But if you're online, the fight is actually a little randomized. Most assumed it just drew from a pool of randomly generated enemies, but the actual way it works is more complicated. Getting held by Fia doesn't just make you the subject of 1,000 memes and a health debuff. It actually has a second, secret purpose. Credit for this one goes to Matt Gren on Twitter. They took a look at the game scripts and confirmed that if you're online, the game will upload your character's build when you're held by Fia, which is called up when another player takes on Fia's champion. This isn't the only time a fight does that. Getting the Great Jar's Arsenal will upload your character build to become the Great Jar Knight for another player as well. This apparently is triggered when you're held before fighting the Lich Dragon boss as well.
This is goodbye, my dear, but I am satisfied. I choose to lie with Godwin of my own will.
Which is why all the champions you end up fighting as Fia's champions aren't all level 5 chumps. It's a small thing, but it's pretty cool to see From keeping up their tradition of including inexplicable multiplayer components to their games, even if it's not quite as epic as the old monk from Demon Souls. And number 7 is the Malekith's Side of Grace ship. Elden Ring is by far the most open-ended Souls-like game. Just being able to jump on command is a game changer. Players through this have managed to discover a lot of creative ways to skip parts of levels. We've already covered one pretty decent skip in the Crumbling Fair Mazura that lets you bypass the Godskin duo, but this skip's almost as good as that. With it, you can avoid many of the most annoying enemies in the area. Like, you can totally skip all the birds, shuriken guys, spellcasters, and the dragon just by doing a few careful jumps. Credit to Redditor Luvanir for finding this one. It's not essential, but some of these enemies can just be absolute hell for certain builds. So getting the option to completely bypass them can be pretty handy, even if you just, run by them. Still, these kinds of parkour tricks are awesome if nothing else, so we're always there to highlight these kinds of things. At number 6, the eyes of the flame chariot actually follow you. It's small, but it's a strange thing I didn't notice, and I bet a lot of other people didn't either. You know these weird flame chariot enemies in Caelid and Liurnia? It seems like their eyes are just grafted onto their faces, basically like the shield version you can get. But no, if you look closely, you can see the eyes actually follow you independently from the rest of the head. Maybe some have noticed this one before, but I didn't. And the Reddit thread posted by Fuzzy Improvement shows us that, well, a lot of other people didn't notice it. To be frank, these things are already fairly weird, so I don't know that everybody was really looking for a new way for them to be weird. But we got it! Like, did we really need some crazy eyes to go with this order? Can I send it back to the kitchen? Can I do that? At number 5, the Wings of Astal has a new sound effect when it's close to the Astal boss fight. Here's a pretty unusual thing that we're crediting to Redditor HansChrist1, who probably wasn't the first person to notice this, but is the only poster I've seen with actual visual proof of this effect. For some reason, when you're close to the Astal boss door, any of the other Astal-likes out there, like Astel or the Malformed Star enemies, the Wing of Astal weapon gets a new sound effect, and its heavy attack gets faster, potentially. Why this happens, there are not clear answers as of right now, but a few people in the thread have some convincing theories. Red Jingles offered that the Astel boss sounds might have the same ID as the Wing of Astal weapon, so when the boss or enemy is loaded, then the sound changes. Most people recognize the sound being different, but the speed of the attacks is a lot more contentious though. I went and tested the weapon a little bit, and I can't really tell the difference. The speed thing might be confirmation bias, but the sound is definitely different, and even if it's just a bug, it's an interesting little interaction, almost like the wing is somehow still connected to the boss. And number 4 is the weirdness of the deathbed dress.